Mike looked at Jessica as she got ready and asked, "You look nice. We going out?" She replied, "No, I'm going out with the girls. Leo texted me this afternoon." Mike frowned. "Leo? Your ex?" Jessica explained that Leo had broken up with his girlfriend, was in a dark place, missed her, and said she was the only person who ever truly understood him. Mike asked if she was meeting him for dinner, and Jessica insisted it wasn't a date, accusing Mike of making everything dirty. She claimed she was simply helping a friend in crisis and that Mike lacked empathy. Mike pointed out that she was wearing the dress he bought her, had spent an hour on her hair, and was wearing full makeup, saying this looked more like trying to impress her ex than helping someone. Jessica argued she dressed up for herself and called it human connection, but Mike said it was disrespect, warning that if she walked out that door she was choosing another man's feelings over their relationship. Jessica mocked him, called him insecure and controlling, and left anyway, convinced he would never follow through on his warning. After she left, Mike quietly logged out of their shared accounts, changed passwords, and packed her belongings. When Jessica returned 6 hours later, she found her bags waiting by the door. Mike noticed she smelled like Leo, but Jessica insisted nothing happened, claiming they had gone to a crowded bar after dinner and spent hours talking because Leo had been suicidal. Mike wasn't convinced and refused to let her back inside, reminding her that she had ignored the boundary he had clearly set. Jessica was shocked, saying he couldn't throw away a 3-year relationship over one dinner, but Mike replied that she had made that choice the moment she walked out the door to prioritize her ex over him. She begged for another chance, promised to block Leo, and pleaded to talk in the morning, but Mike calmly said there would be no morning for them and closed the door. Later, Jessica's friend Sarah confronted Mike, calling his actions cruel and unsafe, but Mike replied that Jessica had chosen Leo and that wherever she decided to be was now her home. He made it clear he didn't do half measures and refused to take her back. About a year later, Jessica unexpectedly ran into Mike and admitted he had been right all along. Leo had turned out to be manipulative, stole money from her, and eventually threw her out. She apologized, admitted she had taken Mike for granted, said she had changed, and asked if they could at least have a drink because she desperately needed a friend. Mike simply said no. When Jessica asked if their 3 years together meant nothing, Mike replied that she wasn't suffering because she lost him. She was suffering because she gambled their future on a fantasy that failed. Jessica admitted she had only wanted to see what Leo wanted and never imagined he would ruin her life. Mike answered that she had wanted excitement, the thrill of the bad boy, because his steady love wasn't enough for her, and that she had ended up with exactly the life she chose. As she begged for another chance, Mike quietly told her that the man who once tolerated her disrespect no longer existed because she had destroyed him the night she walked away. Jessica tearfully confessed she loved him, but Mike only replied, "Love you too," before walking away, leaving her alone with the consequences of her own choices.
My husband caught me having an affair with one of his closest friends, someone who also happened to be my ex. Now he's filed for divorce, and I'm left wondering whether I destroyed the only family I ever wanted. I already know I made terrible choices. I'm not here to excuse them. I'm 34 years old, my husband is 37, and we've been together for 11 years. We have a wonderful 7-year-old daughter. Until recently, I believed we had a happy marriage. We laughed together, supported each other's dreams, and built a life that felt stable and secure. I truly loved him, which makes what happened even harder to explain. Months ago, an old boyfriend contacted me through social media. At first it seemed harmless. We chatted about college memories, met for coffee, and slowly started spending more time together. Instead of recognizing that I was crossing emotional boundaries, I convinced myself it was innocent. Eventually those conversations turned into an affair. At home, I became distant. I spent more time on my phone, made excuses to leave the house, and stopped being emotionally present. My husband noticed. One evening he calmly asked me if I was seeing someone else. I denied everything. He looked at me and quietly said that if I was lying and he found out later, there wouldn't be another discussion, it would simply be over. His words frightened me. That night I ended the affair and blocked my ex. For weeks I focused on repairing my marriage. We spent more time together, planned family activities, and things slowly started feeling normal again. I believed I had escaped the consequences of my actions. Then my ex contacted me from another account, asking for one final meeting so we could have closure. I should have ignored him, but I agreed. It was the worst decision I have ever made. While I was meeting him, I received a message from my husband. He said he knew exactly where I was, that he had packed my belongings, transferred my share of our savings, and that from that moment forward we would only communicate about our daughter. Everything changed instantly. My calls went unanswered, my messages received no response, and when I returned home the house was nearly empty. He and our daughter had already left. Over the following days, every conversation between us was strictly about co-parenting. There was no anger, no shouting, and no attempts to humiliate me. He acted as though our marriage had already ended long before I realized it. Soon afterward I was served with divorce papers. Every detail had already been organized, from parenting arrangements to finances. I kept hoping he would ask why I did it or give me one last chance to explain, but that moment never came. Now I find myself replaying every decision that led here. Part of me understands why he walked away. Another part wonders if, after more than a decade together, we deserved one final conversation before everything ended. Maybe the marriage was over the moment I chose to lie. Maybe it ended the first time I crossed a boundary I knew I shouldn't have crossed. I don't know if relationships can recover from betrayal like this, but I do know one thing: trust, once broken, is incredibly difficult to rebuild, and sometimes the consequences arrive long after you think you've escaped them.